That is tasteless, cold, oh, and that is an acquired taste. I'm Dan Snow. Today I've come to a 13th century Cistercian abbey at Beaulieu to work out just what those medieval monks would have eaten. Let's see what's on the menu. Cistercian monks were determined they would be as self-sufficient as possible. Many abbeys supported themselves through agriculture and brewing ale. There's one thing the Cistercians didn't like. It was those other groups of monks who they said had all gone soft and become gluttons. And so Cistercians ruled the monks should eat only once a day, and meat was forbidden to all apart from the sick. The Cistercians' diet largely consisted of coarse bread, but also vegetables, herbs, beans, and on really crazy special occasions, they let their hair down and they might have some fish, some eggs, or other delicacies known as pittances. One of the most famous Franciscans of them all, Bernard of Clairvaux, wrote in a sermon, "I abstain from meat because by overfeeding the body, I also feed carnal desires. I strive to take even bread with moderation, lest my heavy stomach hinder me in standing up for prayer." He sounds like a blast. Pottage, eaten by almost everyone in the medieval period. It's basically a soup, a stew, or throwing anything that's lying around into a pot and heating it up. It contains vegetables and grains, things like that. Often eaten with bread. So let's give it a go. That is tasteless, cold, sticky, not very nice, but it's all they had. They were popular because there were lots of variations on this. You just chucked in whatever happened to be around at the time. They could be boiled up quickly and served, or some pottages would sort of stay on the fire in a pot for days on end, and people just kind of keep adding additional ingredients from time to time. Really, this needs, frankly, anything to spice it up. Herbs that could grow here in the UK or the Northern Hemisphere are quite nice, like rosemary, get that in there. Ideally salt, but salt cost a bit of money, so that was almost a bit of a luxury back in those days. But we've also got sage and thyme. Frankly, I think the more the better. It needs every little bit of help it can get. That is an improvement. The vegetables in here might be leeks, beans, peas, cabbage, sprouts. No potatoes, of course, because Christopher Columbus had not travelled across the Atlantic yet and brought back potatoes. And it was common for monks to have these vegetables growing nearby. They had very well-tended gardens. They'd grow herbs as well there to provide flavour and also for medicinal purposes. Cistercian monks were remarkably skilled herbalists. And in many of those monasteries like this one, those herb gardens survive to this day. You can't talk about medieval food without talking about fish, particularly pickled herring. This one is in a trencher of bread. Let's give it a go. Basically herring, a lot of that in northern waters, wrapped up in bread, a plate of bread. Oh, and that is an acquired taste. Oh, it's it goes on delivering as well. You get the very strong herring taste, and the pickle really comes through. Actually, it's offset a bit now with the nice soft bread. Not too bad. Ooh. Fish would typically be eaten on feast days, so important religious days, or fast days. And there were about 3 fast days a week that Christians observed in the Middle Ages. There was a Wednesday, the day that Judas betrayed Christ, a Friday in penance for Jesus' suffering, and frankly, that is penance. Now, in addition to that, there was the marathon fish-eating period of the year, which was Lent. 40 days, no meat. Fine if you live on the coast, you can guzzle down seafood. But when you live inland, abstinence was on a very different scale. Week upon week of muddy-tasting freshwater fish, or salted herring and cod. Whew. Easter must have been a party. One of my favourite quotes about this is from a 15th century schoolboy who wrote in his diary, Thou wilt not believe how weary I am of fish, and how much I desire that flesh were come in again. For I have eaten none other than salt fish this Lent, and it has engendered so much phlegm within me that it stops my pipes, that I can scarcely speak nor breathe. I can see how you get like that after 40 days of this. Monks drank a lot of beer. There were hundreds of monasteries right across Europe, all brewing beers, partly because they wanted to be completely self-sufficient. It's really safer, as well as nicer, to drink beer in a world, particularly where there's lots and lots of sewage in the water. The brewing process cleaned the beer and made it safe for humans to drink. So men, women and children all drank a lot of beer in the medieval period. Monks became well known for brewing because they followed a principle of self-sufficiency. So they wanted to make sure that everything they ate and drank could be provided by the monastery themselves. The monks made some important innovations. In order to keep up with growing demand, they figured out new ways to mass produce beer. They added hops to it to balance out the sweetness from the malt. And that also acted as a preservative, which meant in the period following the medieval period, when European sailors started sailing across vast distances towards the Americas and Asia, they could take barrels of beer to stop them getting too thirsty. I think lots of people were brewing and fermenting and distilling anything they get their hands on in this period, but monks became particularly well known for making great beer. The reason they gave was because they believed they needed to make the best product possible since they were working for God, and a subpar beer would be a major offence. Sure, lads. I'm not sure I'm cut out to be a medieval monk. I mean, I like the outdoors, I like the idea of being self-sufficient, a life of quiet contemplation, but I think the food's just a bit thin. Lots of beer though. Thanks for joining me, folks. If you've enjoyed watching, please click on any of the videos on this screen for more delicious content.